Okay, everybody, so week 3 is done, and all I can say is, what happened? This had to have been one of the most unpredictable weekends of football that has happened in a good while. Certainly this year, this was the most unpredictable so far. That's unfortunately why I went 7-9, but I think even some of the pro analysts had a lot of these wrong, so again, very, very unpredictable. So I'll only mention the 7 that I had correct, which was Atlanta versus New Orleans, um, Cincinnati versus Denver, Chicago versus Dallas, Cleveland versus Miami, Detroit versus Green Bay, um, New York Giants versus Washington, and Oakland versus Tennessee. Those were the only ones that I had correct. The other 9 I was wrong on. And the other 9 proved their cases as to why I got them wrong pretty well, into a way that the whole grid had a real huge change in it. So, once again, we'll go team by team. I'll try to be as brief as I possibly can. Arizona Cardinals, I believe they'll go 9-7, be the NFC West #1 team, make it into wild card and lose in their first round. Atlanta Falcons, I believe they'll go 9-7, but not make it to playoffs due to the other teams in their division doing better. Baltimore Ravens, they're 3-0 at the moment, but I still think they're going to be kind of a weaker team going 4-12. Because although they are 3-0, they have not won any of those games by that many points. If I'm correct, every single game has been won by less than a touchdown. So, if Baltimore doesn't prove to me that they are in fact a contender by beating Oakland by more than just a field goal, if they can beat them by more than a touchdown, then I'll probably give them more positives in their rating. But until then, I don't really see them having that good of a year. Buffalo Bills really showed a lot up against Arizona. Clearly, their changing in coaching superiorly helped, even with a potentially lacking defense of what they have at the moment with people on the bench or an IR. But because they showed a lot of improvement, I'm giving them a 7-9 season, yet that's still not going to be enough to put them into the playoffs. Carolina Panthers. Despite the big loss that they had up against Minnesota, that was a huge surprise. I still can't see them losing any of the other matches that they're going up against, simply because the other teams that they're going up against have not shown that much improvement up against them. And if you heard that, sorry, that was my phone. But none of the other teams have shown enough improvement as far as defense goes in order to show me why Carolina would lose to any of them. Yes, Atlanta had a really good game up against New Orleans, but if you notice, New Orleans' defense was really lacking. The only way I've seen Carolina suffer is up against teams with superior defenses. So far, none of the teams that they're going up against this year have shown that they have defense, except potentially for Oakland. That's going to be real trouble for them. But even Oakland's defense, I don't think is going to be that much of a problem for them. So that's why I'm giving them a 14-2. Also, that would give them the number 2 seed in the entire NFC, giving them a bye. But coming out of that bye, going up against Dallas, I don't think they're going to win in the divisional. I think they're going to lose that one immediately. And I'll explain that one when I get to Dallas. Chicago Bears, I think, is going to have a very, very, very rough season because of so many injuries that they've been suffering already. It's no wonder they're 0-3. Their players just keep getting injured, and the team is just not ready to compete. Because of which, I just think they're going to go 2-14, because until that team starts getting their players healthy again in the middle of the season, which I know they will do, I'm not going to see that much. I know that they're not going to have that much improvement. Cincinnati Bengals, I believe they'll go 9-7 and be the second team in the AFC North to make it into the playoffs, because no other AFC team is going to be able to manage to beat them in those kind of numbers. although they will once again go up against Pittsburgh in the wild card round and once again lose to Pittsburgh. They're strong, but they're not that strong. Cleveland Browns, unfortunately, I see them having a 2-14 season. They did show something in that game versus Miami going into overtime, but it's not the only reason why I say that they've shown something. The fact that they showed an offense of multi-passers between both Cody Kessler and Terrell Pryor Sr., who was a quarterback in his college years before he signed to the NFL. I saw that as a potential weapon that they could potentially use up against teams. Now, they strong schedule this season, and because their bye is coming in so late, it's just not going to get easy with Cleveland, even when their players become healthy. And with the case of Josh Gordon, he comes back from any court hearings that he has to deal with. But in the meantime, Cleveland is unfortunately weak, especially up against their schedule. But because of that potential that they showed in that game against Miami, they still have a chance of getting those 2 wins that I currently have put in green on their list. Of course, definitely not making playoffs, but something else. Dallas Cowboys, I believe, will be 11-5 and be the second best team in the NFC East to go into the playoffs. Beat the Packers in the wild card round because I believe all the way around they're strong enough to beat them. Divisional to beat the Carolina Panthers. Again, I believe they are strong enough all the way around. And your defense will be enough to put Carolina at a standstill. But on top of that, I believe their offense is actually going to be strong enough to overwhelm Carolina's defense. But once they get into the conference right up against Minnesota, I think they'll lose that one. But that's wrong. And even though I have them beating Minnesota in Week 13, I think they'll lose to them in the conference because Minnesota's going to be able to figure them out. Next is Denver, who I believe is going to be 15-1 and be the second best team in the AFC, getting the number 2 seed. And because of which, I also believe that they will end up beating Houston in the divisional round, but end up losing to New England, and I'll explain why in the conference matchup. I'll explain why I believe that will happen when I get to them. But Denver looks really, really strong, and New England looks like the only team that can potentially beat them at the moment, especially when it comes to Denver's defense. New England looks like the only team that can beat that. Next up, Detroit Lions. I believe they're going 6-10. They're showing strength in their offense, but their defense severely needs some help at the moment. Until then, I don't think they're going to be going positive enough in order to go to playoffs. Green Bay Packers, I believe, will be going 13-3, the second best team in the NFC North, behind the Vikings only by a few points. But I believe they'll immediately lose to Dallas in the wild card round, though. Packers are looking good, but their secondary needs a little bit of work. And also, they look like they might be falling into a fatigue stage once they get into the second half of games, because they can make a strong performance in the first half, but come second half, it doesn't seem they can repeat it that well. Houston, I believe, will still manage to make it to the playoffs with 10-6 record, being number 1 team in the AFC South. I believe they can beat Oakland because although Oakland looks pretty well on both sides of the ball, I think Houston's going to have an advantage on them because their defense is a little stronger, I think, and their offense, I believe, can develop even better than what Oakland has. But in the end, they'll just lose to Denver in the divisional matchup. Still, that's what I think. Indianapolis Colts, I think they're going to go 2-14 specifically because their defense is trash. Their defense is not there. Their offense is there. Their defense severely needs help. Until then, I don't see them winning that many matches. Jacksonville Jaguars, I had them going into the playoffs every single week, and every single week they've been an offensive disappointment. between the interceptions and the fact that their defense that they worked so hard on in offseason is not there because a lot of players are on the injury list. And until I see improvements in the offense, I can only give them an 8-8, which is not going to put them in the playoffs this time around. Then we have Kansas City Chiefs. Swiftly will go 7-9. They're an iffy kind of team for me. I can't really tell where their strengths are. Like, offensively, they're good. Defensively, they're okay. But they don't show significant strength anywhere that would make them, put them any more higher than what I have them at the moment. Los Angeles Rams. That was quite the game up against Tampa Bay. But looking at their schedule from this point on, it's going to be a lot tougher for them. And I just don't think the Rams are going to do anything better than 3-13. That's all I can say. Miami Dolphins, I don't think they're making playoffs this year. I think they're going to go 4-12. Because no matter what, even with the win up against Cleveland, they had to go into overtime because their offense was sloppy. The run game was what helped them win in the end. But I mean, Miami's got to really improve if they're going to see any light for this season to go in the playoffs. Minnesota Vikings have shocked me. They are really, really strong to the point where I think they're going to go 13-3 and be the number 1 team in the NFC North. I think that this team is strong enough to actually make it all the way to the Super Bowl. However, I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. But I believe they can beat the Cardinals in the wild card. I believe they can, in fact, beat the Eagles in the divisional round. Despite them, I have them losing to the Eagles in Week 7. I think Minnesota can figure a way how to beat them once they meet them again in the divisional round. And I think they can even be strong enough to beat Dallas. But once they get into the Super Bowl, I don't think they're going to win that one. Reason why. New England Patriots. I believe they're going to have a perfect season. AFC East, number 1 team, number 1 seed, home field advantage. I think New England has a perfect formula. They have great defense that just shuts everything down. They have great offense, no matter apparently who's the quarterback, between Brady, who will be coming back in Week 5, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett. I bet even with Julian Edelman as their emergency QB, they'll still be able to beat just about anybody. And LeGarrette Blount on the ground is a monster. There's no stopping him, period. That team is such an offensive, defensive monstrosity. I think that they'll just straight up slaughter every team that they go up against. I think they'll even beat Denver, who beat them in the playoffs last season. In this season's playoffs in the conference match, to go to the Super Bowl after beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I originally thought would win the Super Bowl. I believe the Patriots will actually end on a perfect note and be only the second team in history to get a completely perfect season to win the Super Bowl. Because New England has had a perfect season before, but they lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants. Go Giants. But this time around, I think they're going to be a rematch. Next up, New Orleans Saints. After last night's game against the Falcons, their defense definitely showed that they need help, especially up against the run games. So at the moment, I have them going 8-8, not enough to go into the playoffs. New York Giants. Our defense is sloppy. And I know that our line has not been good enough to protect Eli on multiple occasions. Eli, unfortunately, is a little susceptible to throwing interceptions. We have a lot of great targets, but we need everything to, come together a little better as far as protection goes and ball security. But until then, I believe the Giants are going to go 9-7, but not make it into the playoffs this season. New York Jets, I believe they're going to fumble this season hard and go 4-12. Because what seems to be a problem with the Jets is when it comes to clutch moments, they can strive. But when they see themselves already in the losing position, they don't look like they know how to come back from it. They look like once they make the mistake, it's almost all over from there. So that's why I have them going with a very rough season, 4-12. Oakland Raiders, they're proving themselves so far pretty well that their defense is good enough, their offense is strong enough, that I think they'll go 11-5 and be the second best team in the AFC West. However, I think they will lose to Houston in the wild card round. That's all I can say. Philadelphia Eagles. Anyone want to explain that shutdown of Pittsburgh? That was a Pennsylvania fight of the ages. Well, not a fight, more of a just complete clobbering of the ages. Let's call it that, because that's what that was. Complete shutdown of Pittsburgh completely shocked me to the point where I think Philadelphia is going to go 14-2, be the number one team in the NFC East, and as a matter of fact, be the number one team in the NFC, period, getting the number one seed and home field advantage. But, like I said, I think Minnesota is going to figure them out because those two teams look very similar at the moment, as it turns out. Whereas Eagles, the only difference is Eagles seem to be better in the air and in the run game than the Vikings, but the Vikings seem to be very good at quick shots and protection of the QB. So, I mean, that's what I've been seeing. But other than that, man, I think they will lose to the Vikings in the divisional matchup. But Eagles look like they're going to have a very strong season. Hopefully without injuries, though. But we'll see what happens. Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, I said I originally thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl, but I don't think it's going to happen this time around. I still think they're going to go 14-2. I don't think they're going to give Cleveland that mercy match, though. Because after that loss, and after the loss I believe that they will have up against New England, I think they'll just be the number one team in the AFC North, beat their divisional rival, the Bengals, again in the wild card round, but lose to New England again this time in the division. Then comes San Diego Chargers. I believe they're going to go 4-12 because they just don't look like they're strong. They're suffering from too many injuries that are holding them back. And Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback. But until everything comes together a little bit more formulatically, I just don't think they're going to be better as a team in the end. Seattle Seahawks. I had them really low last time. This time bumped them up a little bit more to an 8-8, but not enough to make the playoffs because they're just flip-flopping at the moment. I can't really tell with them. So we'll just have to wait and see. San Francisco 49ers, I have them now at a 7-9 because Blaine Gabbert is a great quarterback. Their team looks to be pretty well knit, but not good enough that there's enough seams through there that any team can take them out. Well, any good enough team, I should say. So I have them at a 7-9 until I see some improvement there. I can't give them more. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I have them at a 4-12 because what the heck was that last play after that whole suspension? That fourth down where Jameis Winston looks 100% lost holding the ball. Like, dude, you do realize you're that close to the first down line? Can you run like you normally would? We know you can do that. I don't understand what happened there, especially without calling a timeout, which they needed, and they had. So Tampa Bay just doesn't look like they're there. You see what I'm saying? Until they prove me wrong, though, that's where I have them. Tennessee Titans I have at 3-13 because they're formulatically good. Their run game is terrific. Their run game has got to be up there as one of the best because they have three runners that they can use. DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry, and their QB, Marcus Mariota. But as far as air, as far as defense, I can't say they're strong yet. Until I'm shown otherwise, I can't give them that good of a positive. Finally, Washington Redskins. I believe they'll go 6-10 because they look like a team that they know how to beat the. They look like they know how to beat the average team. But from there, I don't think they're strong enough in order to actually come out as a playoff team in the end. But we'll see. So there you have it. That's right now. As for me, I'm going 0-2-1 myself at the moment. I'm currently with 0 wins and predictions, 2 losses, and a tie. So I hope week 4 I can at least get that green to start popping up at the bottom. But until then, football, all you can do is just show me why I love this sport because of all that unpredictability and the chance to, prove myself in any way or form that I could potentially become an NFL analyst someday. Until then, everybody, hopefully you enjoyed my analysis and you agree. If you don't, let me know in the comments. Until then, I'll keep doing this every week of the season. And yeah, this is Fireknight 3 signing out.